Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, coming to you 6 days a week as we interview whitetail experts and hear their traditions and personal stories of the hunt. Learn more about the latest gear, discover proven tips, and the latest strategies so you can make your next hunt a success. Now, here's your host, Bruce Hutchin.
Welcome to Whitetail Rendezvous Podcast with your host, Bruce Hutchin, episode number 180. On today's show, you're going to hear from Wayne Bogardus from Pennsylvania. He is the owner of Black Ash Outdoor Products, maker of Treestand Wingman, about how to stay safe 20 feet off the ground so you can make it home tonight.
Hey, listeners, don't forget to text 33444 Food Plot for your free Food Plot ebook.
Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. This is your host, Bruce Hutchin. And we're heading out to Pennsylvania today. Yes, folks, we're going to talk to this very interesting man, the man who created Treestand Wingman, Wayne Bogardus. Wayne, welcome to the show.
Yes, thanks for having me, Bruce.
Hey, and really quickly, a shout out to Justin McFadden. He was recently on the show last week or so, and his company is Unchained Outdoors, protected by Treestand Wingman. And when Justin came on the show, I go, well, what is that all about? And he proceeded to tell me, and folks, you're in for a treat because Wayne's doing something in the industry that I haven't seen. I've been around for 50 years, and yeah, I'm that old, but I haven't seen something that Wayne's come up with. So Wayne, welcome to the show, and let's just jump right in it and talk about Black Ash Outdoor Products and Treestand Wingman.
Yeah, Bruce, this came about here. It was the fall of 2013. In our local paper, there was a gentleman who had fallen in the Midwest, and he was on life support, and his sister took him off, and he died from his injuries. So that got me looking into what's out there in the industry, you know, to keep people safe. And there's the harness, which is definitely something everyone should use. But basically with that, you're left hanging in a fall, and you still have to get down out of the tree. So to my way of thinking, a person has to be down on the ground safely to be safe. Because there's a lot of things in with a harness that if you're hanging there, you're going to have to cut it and come down the tree. So I started working on prototypes, and it took me about a year to get this where everything was working the way I wanted to. We did some patent work, and we've done a lot of testing with it. Something about this product, everything's designed on the fireman's fall, which is off a 10-foot fall. A person needs 15 pounds of protection for every pound of weight. So a hunter that weighs 300 pounds needs 4,500 pounds of protection. So we've got webbing that's that. We start with CNC machined 6061 aluminum, all anodized in the unit. So we're rated at 15 to 1. Well, we had to have testing to the TMA standards, and we went to Baton Rouge. And the gentleman doing the testing, the first test they did was a 220-pound dummy with a 52-inch drop. Well, that came down, lowered it to the ground, and Sean and I, my wife, were sitting there, and we were looking at it, and we were kind of pleased with ourselves that went well. Well, the tester, Devin's, over there looking at the harness, and I said, well, Devin, is something wrong? I said, we're testing the Wingman, not the harness. He said, well, that has a sewn-over lanyard. Those should rip at 500 pounds of force, and he'd never tested any product under 900 pounds. So he had a gauge there that told us what the actual impact force was, and we were at 387 pounds of force. And he said he'd never seen anything, with that little force on it. So then we had to do another drop without our Wingman on it with the same drop. And that one came down, ripped out every bit of the harness, actually ripped the front of the harness, and the dummy was kind of hanging in there. And he said, well, that's what he normally sees whenever he does a fall in a harness like that. And that was 1,100 pounds of force. So when you fall into a harness and any other system that holds you, into the fall and stops you, you're going to generate between 11 and 12, 1,300 pounds of force. And that can generate a lot of injury right there. So
if I understand it, we're concerned about two things. One, falling and hitting the ground.
Sure.
Two, falling and being restrained, and then everything, there's pressure. It's like I've jumped out of perfectly good airplanes, and if my harness isn't really tight, then there's a little bruise mark where, when my chute deployed.
Yeah.
So are we talking the same thing?
Yeah.
Because I'm a layman here, and you talk about pounds per square inch and all that.
Yeah,
I get lost.
That's the force you're going to feel when you hit the end of your lanyard, because the lanyard's going to rip, but you're still going to have a stop. It's still going to stop you at the end of that. And that does, if you dropped in that without it, you would have about 1,400 pounds of force without your ripped harness. Well, that's how this Treestand safety works now. That was their answer. They keep the lanyard short, and then they make a sewn over lanyard to try and keep that down. But you're still going to get a lot of soft tissue damage. Typically, in a fall, you're going to have either, if the person falls to the ground, they're going to end up with broken bones, spinal injuries, things of this nature. Now, with a harness system, it's going to hold you, but you're still going to end up with a soft tissue damage, which starts a lot of bleeding to start with, and then you're hanging in it. And NASA says that anything over 5 minutes, your blood starts to pool in your legs. So then, anywhere 5 minutes to a half an hour, you need to be getting down out of the tree. You can't just hang there and call your buddies and, tell everybody everything's okay. If you pass out, then, within an hour, things can go really bad really quick. So when you fall into this system, you don't get near the impact, and then it just lowers you to the ground. And also with this, one nice thing is when you're falling, if you do nothing, it'll just lower you to the ground. But with 2 fingers of pressure, you can stop yourself anytime to get back onto the ladder, or just if you do nothing, you lower yourself to the ground. And comes with a 30-foot webbing. And we took one unit. We went to quite a few shows this year. Well, we started in Pittsburgh. We went to Harrisburg, Erie, and Hamburg. We had one unit we kept reusing because this is a reusable system. I did over 3,500 falls with one unit over those shows. So, a typical hunter would never use it enough to overuse it, I guess.
Okay, a fall. Did you put a telephone post and drop from 10 feet, or how did you do the falls?
We actually were 16 feet. We developed this apparatus, and it has a ladder stand on it, and it's 16 and a half feet tall. And then we'd hook to that, and I'd just jump off the ladder. I kept doing falls, and I could show people how it would hold your weight if you're sitting in the harness. But if I jump off, you start bypassing the system that just lowers you down to the ground. It's got.
Now, wait a minute. Are we talking about Wayne was the dummy?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm expendable, so I'm the dummy.
Wait a minute, dude. Yeah. You believe in your product, but that many falls, is there no jerk then? I'm thinking of, that many falls, you had to get jerked.
No, it's not bad. You're generating about 400 pounds of force, but I had one harness system that I had, and it was like a $50 harness that I'd bought. And since I came up with the invention, I'd been using that for like 2.5 years. I just replaced it with another one here a couple weeks ago because it didn't rip out the stitching, but it was starting I had like some plastic buckles. They were starting to pop off. So I come out and replace that one, but it was still working fine. So, normally if you fall into your harness with any other system, you're going to ruin the harness. So you're going to have to buy a new harness every time you fall. This, we don't generate enough force that, you need that.
All right. So is my spider no good?
Yes. Yeah. Any spider harness will work. You just clip right to this. And then
But it without your apparatus, so it's a one and done, right?
Yeah,
on my spider.
More than likely, if you just slip a little and you don't have much slack, chances are it won't rip. But if you fall into a harness like the jumps I was doing at these shows, you would have ripped a harness by now. That's some of the guys there just couldn't believe that I could keep doing jump after jump with one harness and not rip my stitching out. Basically, at these shows, the guys who are most impressed were guys who have to use other things for industry, because most of the stuff they have weighs like 8, 9, 10 pounds. It's big, heavy stuff. This weighs 1 pound, 6 ounces. So it's not like it's heavy. It's designed and made for hunting. And people, EMTs were really impressed with it. People who have to use safety products in their business really seen a need for something like this. Now, that's the thing that kind of gets me. You'll see like kids 20 to 30 years old with, a wife and a kid pushing a stroller. And these are the guys who think they're invincible. But if anybody needs it, it's people that age, because that's where most of the falls come from, between people, guys from 20 to 30 years old. So, and it's kind of hard for some of them because they don't even wear a harness. Now you're asking them to have a harness with something to go with it.
Yeah. And I guess I would say this, we kind of just named the show, one fall can kill you. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're hunting 5 feet off the ground, if you're standing up and you are above your head, if you're 6 feet tall, put on a harness, because there's so many things that can kill you. And there's absolutely no sense at all for you falling out of a tree stand today with everything that's available. Go to eBay and you can buy, I wear a spider.
Yeah.
I bought it on eBay, and exactly what you buy in the store, and I bought it on eBay. There's nothing wrong with it. But you've got to do that, because if you're single, okay, roll the dice. But if you have a wife, a family, moms and dads, people who love you, care about you, why risk it? Because one fall can kill you, and it isn't hitting the ground that can kill you; it's getting hung up. I have one story that a guy, was hunting by himself in Kansas, and there was nobody to help him. Yeah. He was on a old abandoned power pole, and up 15, 20 feet in the air. Great place to hunt, and something happened. We don't know what. Harness held him in the air until he died.
Yeah. Well,
period.
That's the one thing there most hunters don't realize, is that it is lethal to be hanging your harness. And so, I've had harnesses. A friend of mine said he had one that had a razor blade right in the harness that you were supposed to cut down your lanyard. And that's an option. That's a person needs to realize that could be something you have to do. But with our system, you don't need that. It's just going to lower you to the ground, at a slow rate of feed. If they go to our website, they can watch the videos on there and just see how a fall looks out of these systems. But yeah, that's one of the things with hunters, that they've just got to figure that out, that safety is important, because everyone has a mother or father, even if you don't have wives or children, and that's kind of when I started with this. I'd be ready to go hunting. My wife would ask me, well, where are you going? Well, I hunt about 30 miles from where I live. So even if she knew that I fell and I could call her, it would still be a half an hour, and that could be too late at times. You're still going to get your pulling in your legs and everything before anybody could get there. And like with me, I have a climber, and then I have some fixed stands. So where I would be at, it would be hard to say. If I'm heading there, I may not even get that far, and I see a buck in the field, I may be hunting there, with my climber. So that's where this system was designed, just to help hunters out and give them have something there if something goes wrong.
Hey, let's take a short segue here and set you up for, a commercial. How do people get in touch with you? YouTube, you mentioned your website, social media, phone numbers. How do people get a hold of you?
Okay, our phone number here at the shop is 814-783-0700, and that's in Sagertown, Pennsylvania. I'd like to say we do all manufacturing, assembling, and testing right here in our plant. And you can call in, order them, or else you can go onto our website, which is www.blackashoutdoorproducts.com, and you can order them there. We also have something with this. Every one of the Wingman is serialized, so it's got a serial number on it. And when they buy one, they just call in, they register it, costs them nothing. And then once we sell 10,000, we're going to have a drawing for a 4-wheeler. So that's something else too they can look forward to down the road.
Wow. I'll buy 9,999.
You will get one. You will win this. Well, you can't do that now because we've already sold, quite a few of them. So,
no, I mean, I'll buy the last one, so you can have, the drawing.
Yeah, okay, that'll work.
I'll be good for that. I'll probably get one sooner. I just had my hip replaced, so I may or may not whitetail hunt to the extent I have in the past, like 30 days. So we'll just see how it goes this year. But we'll need to talk about that. But okay, so how about social media, Wayne? Yeah,
we have a Facebook page on there, and plus both Shauna and I are both on Facebook too, individual pages too.
And the Facebook page is?
Black Ash Outdoor Products.
Okay.
And also the Treestand Wingman is actually the product. So you can go either way.
Okay. Now, what about testimonials? Do you have on your website a testimonial page?
We're getting that now. Actually, we're in Harrisburg there, and we had a fellow come up that had bought one of the first ones that we had sold. And he was an older fellow, probably in his 70s, over 300 pounds. And he came to us, and we met him at Forksville at the world biggest bow festival, and he bought one there, and I talked to him and I showed him how it all worked and stuff. Well, he was taking down a tree stand. He was getting ready to take it down. It was a ladder stand, and he said he reached around the tree to start to undo the strap. He said he didn't even get a hold of the strap, and it broke, and the whole thing just collapsed below him. And his son was down there, and he told him he'd holler, "Get out of the way." And of course, our thing caught him. He said he almost forgot he had it on. He said until it caught him, and then just lowered him to the ground. He came up and he was going to give me a big hug. And I said, handshake's good enough, glad we could help you. So we were going to have him in the testimonials. And actually, he was a gun hunter that had just started hunting with a crossbow. So, and then he wanted to start hunting with a tree stand. So, he had said about the Wingman, how it helped him and everything. So, we were really happy that we were able to do that. But we were going to use him as a testimonial. And he said, you can't do that. He said, because his wife didn't know he'd fallen.
Oh, no.
And we're like, well, we may have to change the names and stuff to protect the innocent.
Black him out.
So
just
yeah.
Black out his face. I mean, I myself with the HD, smartphone cameras you have now, Instagram 13 seconds and everything else, you can go as long as you want, but just black out his face.
yeah. So
wow, that's a great testimony. And let's talk a minute about last season. You told me in the warm up that you were over in Illinois and you were rifle hunting, I believe.
Yeah, it's actually it's either shotgun or muzzleloader season. It's the first 3-day season. I'd gotten a nice buck out there 2 years before that, and I have this one valley I like to hunt down there. Friday was a pretty nice day, but none of the neighbors were hunting, so we didn't see many deer. Well, Saturday usually there's a lot of people out moving around, so I went to my favorite spot there. When I got there, it started out, it was raining in the morning, and it rained for about an hour and a half. And then it went to ice and snow, and then it snowed the last 2 or 3 hours of the day. And I was sitting there the whole time. My stand was actually, I had a climber, I have a Summit Viper climber. And a couple times I felt it move a little underneath me, and I'd look up and I'd see I had my Wingman on, and I've done so many tests with it that I knew that the worst thing would happen would just lower me to the ground. But I stayed in the tree all day, and I was thinking, years ago I probably wouldn't have. I'd probably come down and either found another place to sit or something, maybe even on the ground. But tree stand hunting's what I like to do. I like to get up, I like to watch nature below me, and it works well for me. So yeah.
Wow. How'd you do? Did you harvest a deer?
No.
Did you kill a deer?
I seen 2 bucks that were nice 8s. There's a lot of lower brush. It's almost like rhododendron or mountain laurel we have around here, but it's not. And you only see them for glimpses. And I seen 2 buck going through, checking for does, and they had their heads down. And the one was probably a decent one. I'd say it was probably 18 to 20 inch 8, probably a 3-year-old, but the last one I got was a real nice 3, and I was just waiting for something bigger. That's why I hunt Illinois, is for the chance at a real big one. So I just didn't happen to see that, but I did see a lot of nice 2-year-olds, bucks that a lot of guys have been happy with. But
well, is that your own land, or is that leased land, or how does that work?
It's actually leased land. A friend of mine's, we went out 20 years ago, him and I went out to a leased property out there, and then he's been going out every year since. So he's got farmers that he's met out there and stuff, and he leases the land off the farmers, and then he gets us, there'll be 15, 20 guys from here, pay him to go hunt this property. And there's 2 farms together there. It's 500 acres, and he's got probably another 200-300 acres in different areas. So it works out pretty good. He has guys go out to archery hunt every year, and he's got some gun guys that go out.
Great.
So it works pretty good.
I'd like to have him on the show. It sounds like he's done some great homework, built some good relationships out there, and love to have that guy on the show. We'll talk about that in the post show.
Yeah.
Right now, let's talk about Wayne. Go back, and I know you've hunted all over North America. I've seen some of your trophies on your wall through the video portion of of the show. Talk about the hunting tradition, where that came from, and how you're passing it on.
Yeah, that probably started when I was just young. I mean, my dad used to take me out rabbit hunting. We'd go out back, and I had an old beagle, and he'd chase the rabbits. My dad would shoot them, and I'd go get them and pile them up, as he shot them. And then I had some uncles that hunted Canada quite a bit. They'd go up moose hunting every year. They come back with their stories about hunting up there and, fishing different areas. And, when I got out of school, I had a couple friends that would go to Missouri every year. So I'd tag along with them. We go down there turkey hunting every year. We went to West Virginia turkey hunting, went to Texas deer hunting, turkey hunting, went out South Dakota, Wyoming, turkey hunting out there with the Merriams. I've got Rios. The only one I haven't got now is the Osceola. I've never been down there hunting. I went to Newfoundland, shot a moose up there. Me and a good friend of mine went up to Alaska. We did a 2-week float hunt on the Machotna River. Did like 250 miles of river over 2 weeks. He got a nice caribou there. So
oh, my goodness.
We had meat there the whole time. I went to Shefferville, Cargare. We went hunting caribou. I got 2 nice bulls there. I went with my brother with that, and he got several nice bulls too. Just like getting out. And, when you can... that Alaskan trip, when that float plane went back over the mountain, and I looked over, and just a friend of mine, we were the only 2 there. And it's like, that was probably the loneliest feeling I ever felt. But, it was great. We had fishing. If we got up in the morning, we wanted to go fishing, we grabbed the poles to go out and catch some salmon. Or if we wanted to go hunting, we climb up on the mountain and see what was in the valley, So it was definitely something everyone should do,
Yeah, and I'll echo that. I floated 60, 100 miles of the Stia hook, which flows into the Stoya hook.
Yep.
Hopefully, Machata. It goes into Machata anyway.
Yeah, Stoya hook's where we got picked up at.
And it's just amazing. The feeling, you fly in and everything's great, and you're in this plane, and all of a sudden you offload everything after landing on a lake to portage over to this little creek to go into the river, and all of a sudden it's silent.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's silent.
Yeah.
The only thing you can hear is yourself talking, your breath, and the wind. That's it.
Yeah.
And you're there for 10 days or whatever your time is, but you need to do that. If you think it gets goosey and kind of surreal in the tree stand in the morning or the night when everything's just perfect, magnify that times 100, and that's what Alaska's like. And Wayne, we got a lot to talk about. We've been in some of the same places. It's amazing.
Yeah, a small world.
Hey, let's get back to the whitetail application. We've pounded it pretty good, but let's talk about the piece of equipment, and we'll put hopefully you do have a video, how to use, and I'll throw that in your show notes when we produce the show. But let's talk about, just what really is this piece of equipment. Sounds like you get an ascender or descender that cams over, so you're going to slow down. But tell us about the product and why it works the way it does, and spend 2 or 3 minutes on that. Okay,
the product has a top and a lower plate, and then there's 9 bolts in the whole unit, and then there's 4 nylon washers that form a serpentine motion through here, which creates some drag. But basically, without the cam on it, it would be about 120 pounds would be a decent fall. With the cam on it, the more weight you put on the unit, the more pressure it puts on. It belays the system by whatever weight you're putting on it. So if you weigh 120 pounds, the cam's not putting much pressure onto the last washer. But if you weigh 300, it's going to put a lot more pressure, which gives you about the same rate of fall. But like I said, you can always regulate the fall with 2 fingers of pressure. So if you're falling, you want to get back on the stand, you can, grab the webbing and slow it down, or get back onto or stop it and get back onto the ladder. Or if you do nothing, it just lowers you to the ground. We also taken, it's got the same loop on the other end on the 30-foot. I take and put a carabiner on that. Then after I climb up, I pull my bow and my day pack up with it. So I've got a haul rope right with it. I don't need to carry anything extra for that. But like with a climber, you put it around the tree at the bottom, hooked to it. And as you're climbing up, you move it up with you. So you're always hooked up. No matter what happens, you've always got that ability. And that's the thing with just using like a tree strap with a climber. If something happens to the bottom and it falls, that tree strap's going to hold you right there. There again, you're going to have to cut your harness to come down. My unit, you can move the bottom down, and my unit will just lower you down with your top of your climber. So you can go down and catch your bottom, and then you can climb back up and rethread it when you get up there. So you were always hooked up. So if anything happens, the worst thing, it'll just lower you to the ground. And the same with like climbing sticks. So we have a video there where we put up climbing sticks. You know how tough that is to hold the sticks to the tree and put all the straps on. Well, this, you go up above it and you pull this tight around the tree and the sticks, and you sit in your harness and it'll hold you in place. Well, then you sit there hands free, putting all the straps on. So if you have a climbing sticks with a receiver system, there's like 5 or 6 now that make receiver systems for lock-ons. You can go right up the tree, pull this tight, pull the stand up, set it in place, and you're above it. You were always hooked up. You're completely safe. And then you can pull your bow up and go hunting. So,
wow. Hey, Wayne, I'm just going to break in. I just posted your video to 11,352 people on 11,500 people on Twitter, and it just went out. Do you have a Twitter account? I couldn't find it.
We have one, but it's not active.
Yeah, we have one, but it's not active.
Okay, because I like Twitter, I like Facebook, I like Instagram and LinkedIn on the professional side. But I just wanted, if you had it, you can go to Whitetail RENDEZ, and I just put it up 44 seconds ago. Treestand Wingman, Black Ash Outdoor Products, YouTube, blah, 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 blah. And there's Wayne with his nice boo from Shefferville.
Yeah.
And so there you go, guys. And that's how, I'm sitting here, and let's face it, if Wayne, Bogardus, and Shanna can save one's life, they've done one heck of a deal. And, I'm enamored with what they're doing because it makes sense. It's easy. It's efficient. It's proven. And there's no reason not to have the best equipment. You're spending $1,200 on a new Matthews or Hoyt bow or pick of the litter. When you dress that sucker out, that compound bow, it's going to shoot 300 plus feet per second. And its rage broadhead's going to blow out the heart of the deer. But if you fall out of sleeping tree and die hanging or hitting the ground, what's the point?
Yeah, exactly.
What's the point? And so let's get serious. There's a lot of other products out there. I haven't seen this product out there. Wayne, is there a competitor out there?
When we first started, there was like 3. There was a Spider, which is a self-contained system. And we were kind of working with a marketing guy, and he told us that they were going to do a shoot with a Spider, and it didn't work. So, the trouble with that and like the down safe is you can't try them. They were one-time use. If you fall a couple feet, then you can't rethread that back in. Ours, you can rethread any slack you want or whatever. And there's also one other, it was like the Rescue one. It was like a self-contained backpack, but you have to physically pull a string to get that to work. And if something happened, you were knocked out or unconscious, you would not be able to activate that. Plus, you're going to have the full impact force when you come to the end of to the fall. So you're going to get that bang, and then you're going to have to work it. Our unit automatically works. So you just fall, and it'll catch you and just starts lowering you to the ground. You can slow it or stop it, but you don't have to. I mean, it's fairly simple when a person sees it, but it does what it should do. And that's basic. When I started with the design, it had to be foolproof. It had to be something that just worked on its own, but it also has some other options the more we used it that, we're kind of being aware of. So.
Yeah, amazing. Folks, we're sort of kind of at the end of the show, the time has just flown by because I'm enamored. So we're going to have to do some follow-up shows, but we'll talk about that in the post-show. So Wayne, just give some shout-outs. You get about 90 seconds or so here to give some shout-outs, then we'll call it a show.
Okay. First of all, I'd have to have a shout out to my wife, Shauna. She's kind of the one when I was working on the design of this that I kind of brought it to her and said, what do you think? You think they'll be able to sell these? She said, yeah. And then we just started working on it. I have to have Justin McFadden too. He's been a big fan of it. We've been working with him quite a bit. He's actually went to some of the shows with us and, been at the booth with us. So that's been a big help too.
Well, thanks for that. On behalf of Whitetail Rendezvous from across North America, Wayne, thank you so much for being on the show today. And you guys got a great thing going and can't wait to catch up on the flip side.
All right. Thank you, Bruce.
Make sure you listen to our next episode when you hear about Fishing, Hunting with Disabilities by Scott Anderson of Handicap Outdoor.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.
Remember to text 33444 Food Plot for your free ebook.